I know you've been spending some time out at our Lake Wheeler Research Farm. And
quality time.
Well, you mean the time when you're not trying to get our old tractor running? That's quality time.
We don't want to jinx it.
So for those who don't know, hopefully most of you are familiar, but we got about 20 acres of land out at the Lake Wheeler Research Farm. Lake Wheeler is where the university has cows and pigs, turkeys, turf, the dairy,
the creamery.
The creamery, yeah, where you can get your own ice cream out there. It's good stuff. And, it's a farm. They're used to agronomy. And so when we came out and said, hey, we'd like some land out here, we're producing plants, we're farming plants. And they said, well, we can give you some space for 5 years. And we said, well, that doesn't work for us. We're not growing wheat. We need some space. So understandably, they had to think on it. But a few years back, we got that 20 acres. We've got about half of it fenced in, keep the deer out, keep the plants in, and we've been planting it. And that's been one of the roles you've taken on as Director of Horticulture, is being in charge of that space out there.
My second or third day here, you and I went out there to look at it, and I had heard about it. And we're it's not a solo venture. We're partnering with Dr. Tom Rainey, who we have mentioned many times. He's a personal hero of mine, who I've known for a long time. And as Mark mentioned, it's 20 acres. 10 of that is fenced in, currently actively planted with lots of different things right now. And it's kind of in the guise of a couple of models. Tom is doing this in earnest in Mills River, North Carolina, in the mountains, with any number of different things that he's working on. So it was kind of in the model of that. And a good colleague of Mark and mine, Scott McMahon at Atlanta Botanic Garden, has a similar nursery down outside of Atlanta in Gainesville. And one of the missing pieces of the puzzle for us is, prior to coming here, I would go on collecting trips and I would send Mark stuff. He would send me stuff. And it's good to have that in a place where you can kind of see what it's going to do. And from an evaluation standpoint, that ties back into our mission with JC. So having a nursery was the perfect way to do that. So that's where those conversations kind of led to. So in the future, as we're doing some of these collection trips, we've got a place to put some of that stuff to kind of see what it's going to do before we decide whether it's worth that extra level of time and energy for the university to go into. Tom is also looking for things that are a little bit more in the heat tolerant realm, if I'm not mistaken. Our weather here is different than the mountains, and he has some things in other places. So the marriage and the partnership was ideal. We do a lot of work together back and forth. We actually just planted out there with some of his crew a couple weeks ago, adding some new things to it. But some of the things I'll mention that we have out there, and a good segue to where we're standing today. Something near and dear to our hearts. There's some magnolias that we're looking at, mahonias. There's some ilex. What else am I missing that's out?
Wow. Well, some red buds, of course.
Of course, red buds.
Crepe myrtles.
Yeah, crepe myrtles, hibiscus. Tom's even looking at some grasses and some different things. We have planted some of the collected stuff that Mark has brought back, things that have gotten too big for the nursery, so we can get it in the ground and kind of see real world what it's looking at, and already seeing some really, really interesting things kind of coming up that for us, our eyes are trained at 75 miles an hour driving down an interstate to pick out little unique things that are growing along the road as we zip by. So we went up there last week, and as soon as we walked in, your eye is drawn to things that are growing out in the fields. And of course, those are the first things that we want to look at to see, hey, what's going on with this plant and those sorts of things. So that's kind of the ideal way to do evaluations, is not to have one or two things planted, but a whole lot of them. And you can do that when you've got 10, 20 acres of rows to line out and sort of look at things.
Yeah, that's been one of our issues. Is we go collect something, and might be, we get a bunch of seedling coming up, and we can plant one in the Arboretum, maybe two, but it'd be nice to have them all together. And I was just down looking at some maples we collected seed of, and they've popped up. They're fall 2022. They're almost as tall as me. Some of them are much shorter. They may catch up. We don't know. Some of them came out with just dark burgundy black leaves.
We were noticing those the other day.
If that comes out, if that continues, those could be amazing. So we can plant those at Lake Wheeler. It used to be, I would tell Sophia and whoever was in the nursery at the time, I'd say, all right, when we have a flat of these things, keep the tallest, keep the shortest, keep the most middle of the road one, and anything else that looks weird. And then we got to get rid of the rest of them because we can't hold it all. And we'll be moving into more, focused plant breeding, sure. I think, as time goes on. That's certainly something we want to do. We'd love to show everybody this, except for it's top secret. It's, what we're doing out there. A lot of these plants, especially ones we're working with Tom, are ones that are going to make it into market. And so, he's doing some stuff that can't show just yet. Got to keep these things under wraps if you want to keep them protected. So we're doing that. And really, this is part of something that I've seen for a long time with the university and the department. I've been here 17 years now. Hard to believe it's almost 2 decades. Another year, and this will be the place I've lived the longest in my life.
That was Charlotte for me.
And what I've seen over time is, as dollars have decreased for the university, for the department, it's harder to hire faculty to do the applied research. You get basic research in the lab, and you can get big grants for that. But the university and the department doesn't fund that. And I really see that, in some ways becoming, in part, more of our mission to help the industry by doing more of this plant introduction, something we've always done, but even more focused on that. Perhaps even more of the propagation studies and things as we go. And I think that's important. And the university isn't funding that for us. We get we estimate 8 to 12% of our funding from the university. It's really the funding stream from the university is in the form of a couple of staff salaries, including myself, and the hidden things like our electricity. We don't pay for that yet.
Housekeeping,
water, and things like insurance that we don't have to pay because we're part of the university, and auditing we don't have to pay because we're part of the university. But we do everything else to the tune of about $2 million a year, which is why Day of Giving is so important for us. This jcra.ncsu.edu, where you can give, is critical to keep up the great work that's happening out at Lake Wheeler. I know one of your first jobs here was wells or getting wells hooked up and irrigation hooked up and water moved. And
luckily, I've had a lot of experience in the past doing that. And it's it's good because it gives us a better understanding of how things actually work. And one of the things that I like about it, it's helped me build some new relationships. The contractor that put the system in, great human being and helpful. Just the College of Agriculture and Life Science, we're in that Lake Wheeler community now. And I see those people and we know each other and help each other out. So that's always been kind of a behind the scenes evil plan of mine, is to increase not just my personal relationships, but our relationships with all those people. And it's been good. We've been really good about, looking out for each other and helping and, making sure the gates are locked and just simple things with equipment and whatnot. It makes our jobs much easier when we're a part of a bigger thing. And that's one of the nice things about being at Lake Wheeler and being connected to Tom, who's several hours away, but, via Zoom or whatever, we can relay information back and forth. And I know we go out there and he can't be there to look and see everything blooming and see those changes. We can do that. We can send him that information, instantly. And it's nice to be a part of all that stuff.
And one of the things with Lake Wheeler, one of the goals for it is to be used for education.
Yes.
Be used for students. And so, with graduate students, ones that are working with Tom but are taking classes down here, it's pretty difficult for them to get up and back. And unlike, if you're going out and you're breeding cucumbers, they're flowering at the same time. You can go out and do all your cucumber breeding. When you're talking about
Maples.
10, 20, 30 different genera, not even just species, you got to be there all the time. And you can't, this is flowering. Magnolias, they open up and they're receptive for a day or two. You got to make those crosses right away. And so it allows for more students. And for us, we get to have interns and students go out there and work and help plant these things, help, cut them back if necessary, weed eat and mow and, that kind of thing. It's that hands-on. And when you go work for a nursery or somewhere, they want somebody who's been on a tractor that can, that can pull a flail mower behind them or can scoop loads of compost and put it out in a straight row and troubleshoot irrigation and all those kinds of things. And they're doing that with us out there.
They are.
It's really expanded how we can, the experiences we can give them. And then they get the added benefit of when Tom and his crew come down, working with them and talking to them and seeing how that all works. So it's a real win-win for us. It's good for us, but it's good for us because it helps us with our mission. That's the real key, isn't it?
And a good example of some of the behind the scenes things that are going on, not just here, but in our little bit of our small orbit in the world.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but you come out of school and you know that at a nursery you should have 6 inches of gravel over the whole thing, graded so the water all goes here, and do this and that. And real world doesn't work that way.
No.
You're always. It's hard to start at the right level because you're starting. And so, and when you get out in a place like this, you get some real world, hands-on trying to fix the mistakes that I made before you got here, the mistakes you'll make.
I'm making right now.
And those are all really good things because that's how I've learned everything I know is by doing it wrong the first time around.
First 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I was going to say sometimes the second and third times around. But
absolutely.
And when the students see that, they understand that sometimes in this world we work in, there isn't a right way. There's a jump in with both feet, figure it out on your way down to the bottom of the hole, and
it's not all
too deep.
It's not all scripted.
No,
you go off script quite a bit.
Unlike this, which we've scripted
to the letter.